this is Jamie Bankridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. Let's get started here. I'm going to be using the pine tree punch. I've got my take your pick tool. Only ink I'm using is Evening Evergreen. Put that aside for a second. I have a scrap of gold foil paper. I have a 1/2 inch, this is by 6 inches I believe, yep, of designer series paper. I have an 1/8 of an inch by 5.5 inches I believe, it needs to be trimmed down, of crumb cake that has been run through an embossing folder. I have a 3 inch by 5.25 inch piece of white, which I partially run through an embossing folder. I have a 4.25 by 5.5 inch piece of crumb cake, and then I have my card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4.25. Okay. Now, the Winter 3D embossing folder, this one here, I don't know if you can see it, that's what I ran this piece through. I didn't run the whole thing, I left it, this is about an inch, this space here, it could be about 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, it's about 7/8 of an inch, but a little bit less than that would be fine too. Okay, so that's the embossing folder for that. This happened to be a scrap I had on my desk, but it's the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder for that piece. Okay, I also used the holly leaf dies and these little filigree dies from Christmas trimmings, and the little star here. So I previously, let me get that out of the way. I already have them on the little baby, the little dimensionals. There's the 2 holly leaves, 3 of the gold stars, and then 3 of the 6 of those little dots. And this is out of the opposite side of this designer series paper. Okay, so let me put that up there. I use the Noel from excuse me. Sorry about that. Just all of a sudden got a tickle and I couldn't get rid of it. It's the opposite side of the strip of the where's the cardboard? Well, it's not in there, but it's the designer series paper that trimmings, Christmas trimmings, I think. Designer series paper. It came with this suite. Okay, and let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is punch out my tree. So I got that. Okay. I'm going to bring in this piece of crumb cake, and I'm going to mount this. Well, I don't want to mount it yet. I want to put these other things on it first, because I need to trim them. So let's go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of this strip. This is going to go down here at this bottom edge. I'm going to leave a little bit of the white showing, not too much. line up one side. Okay, then this little strip, we're going to do the same thing. Just a little bit of glue on the back. This is going to go here. Make sure they're even spaced. Excuse me, I'm sorry. All of a sudden I got like a frog in my throat. Clip these off. Well, that would be big enough to cut one of those leaves out of, but you don't need to save it. Okay, now this is going to get mounted here on the front of this piece. Right like that. It's got an 1/8 of an inch border on the 3 sides. Okay, I'm going to bring in my stamp, and I probably should have stamped that before I glued that down, but and this is Evening Evergreen. Ink up the stamp. I'm going to stamp that down over here on this bottom corner. Perfect. It almost looks black on there until it dries back a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to bring these pieces in. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. I'd use these little ones since I have them here. But you could use big ones on it. It would be just fine. One more. Over here. Okay, take those backs off. This is a really easy card. This would be a great one for a class because you get a nice card, but it's easy. It's clean and simple. Okay, then we're going to put our tree over here. Okay, now I have 3 little gold stars. I'm going to put a couple on this side, one over here, and then I've got 2 of these hollies that I cut out. I'm going to put one here. Oops. I put the glue, the dimensional, closer to the end I want out. Then I'm going to put just a little dot of glue on this other end. You see it? I'm going to put that here. Get to hold it for a second to get that glue to adhere. Do the same thing on this one. I'm going to have those 2 long points kind of touch in there. Okay, now I've got these 3 little dots here. I'm going to just take my glue and I'm literally just going to put 3 little dots. 1 little tiny dots. Okay, and I'm going to take my pick tool and I'm going to take this piece out. There's a little, I don't know if you can see them, little lines there that line up with those little grooves. And then you turn it to lock it. There's a lock and unlock, so I'm going to unlock it, pull it out because I only have one of these and I need to use both ends of it. Okay, so I'm going to pick up one of these gold dots. I'm going to set it down onto my glue. And I'm going to use my other end to remove it. Oh, it flipped over. There we go. Alright, and that's as simple as it is. There's a, oh, that needs to get glued onto the front of our card. Make sure that's going the right way. Yep. It's the same size as the card. There we go. Clean and simple, but elegant card. Here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you so much for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.